exclamation point, and we are live with our sports talk on the Max Show. Doug, how you been? Long time no see, man.
I know. It's great to be back, Tony. And I was thinking, here we are a week before the official start of high school football, so I guess it's like Christmas Eve for us fanatics of high school sports, because we know it's almost within reach, but we still have to wait a week. But of course, we get a taste tonight with the football jamborees going on throughout the state. So I guess if you want to be completely technical, this kind of pseudo start, at least
right.
The one game preseason begins tonight. But there's no doubt it's an exciting time of the year. All the coaches, the players that have
kids are ready to hit somebody else.
Have put so much work and effort into this. They're ready to see somebody else. They're tired of hitting the same color helmet and jersey.
Well, and kind of excited this year. This should be a very interesting year for our local schools. I mean, some of the folks that, some of the teams that are going to be, I feel, in contention all season long, especially in their respective conferences. Triton, they're being one of them. As a matter of fact, they're our season opener against LaVille, who also is ranked.
Yep.
And then you look at Knox. Knox made our schedule 3 times this year. So we're excited
to contend for the state title in
and 3A. Yeah, but that's a lot to live up to. And I'm pretty sure
they have a pretty good running back over there.
Yeah, he's all right. Some McLaughlin kid. I lose track. No, but. There's high expectations over there. Glenn's got a new head coach that's going to be doing, I think he's going to be doing well, and Coach Brown. Bremen Lions, they're another one that could be a surprise team this year in the brand new conference.
Yeah, I mean, is anybody in our area, maybe in northern Indiana, returning the kind of skill players that the Lions are bringing back? I mean, they have it. Seems like they have it all. I mean, one of the state's leading wide receivers in Graverson. Obviously, Leidig comes back at quarterback. A lot of weapons coming back for the Bremen Lions that could, and again, a new conference. There's so many storylines, Tony. It seems like we talk about this every August as we get ready to kick off the Max game of the week. And I know you're going to plug our high school football preview show coming up next week. But there are so many storylines, whether it's coaching changes. This year we have the new conferences, some conferences realigning. And then on top of that, of course, in the offseason, we had the reclassifications, if you will, or redistricting of teams in sectional play.
Yeah.
So not everybody's in the same sectional. Some teams have moved up throughout the state because of the progress rule. And so that deck of cards has been shuffled.
Well, I'm anxious to see how teams like Triton are going to do. I look at Triton's sectional, and I was looking at them last night, and even in their conference this year, I don't know who's going to beat them. There's Culver, there's Caston, there's North Judson. Judson might be the other. Judson might be the one.
They're another state title contender potential.
North Miami, Pioneer, South Central, Winnemac. I mean, it could be a two-team racehorse in that Hoosier North Conference this year. But you go and you look at LaVille, and again, we're starting our season off with LaVille and Triton. LaVille in their conference is that brand new Indiana Northern State Conference, and Bremen, Jimtown, Glenn, Knox, Tippy Valley are in the mix. This is going to be a good conference, people. This is going to be a real good conference.
A very good conference.
And I think there's going to be a lot of potentials, a lot of battle for that top spot, man, and in the conference this year.
And don't forget, LaVille moves down from Class 2A to 1A. I mean, that is huge. I mean, we've seen the Lancer program be, ranked, and of course they got, they knocked off their adversary in Andrean. They got past that hurdle, went, Central Catholic out of Lafayette ended their season last year, but they went 11-2. You talk about LaVille and Triton. One of the big storylines that we'll talk about in that game will be two teams that have a lot of high expectations, but both break in new quarterbacks and had the same signal caller for a long time. So it'll be different to see the guy, making the calls and under center for both the Trojans and the Lancers this year.
And for LaVille in sectional 41, Bowman Academy, Culver Cavaliers, North Judson, North Newton, South Central, South Newton, West Central. I can't help but once again go with the 2-horse race in this one.
Oh, yeah.
In LaVille and North Judson.
Judson LaVille games we've had the last.
It's been a great
2
rivalry.
years, those have been instant classics.
It's been a great rivalry.
Yeah.
Talked to Brent Lambert over the summer. He's got a good group.
Oh yeah.
He feels the new faces are still learning the discipline part of things in his system. But here again, and I love him to death. He's a great coach. And Jeff Kaiser, that's another guy who I just love to death, and was talking with him. He has high hopes. The quarterback position there, it's between two, but one's probably going to end up running the race in this one, and that being Zarnecki. So,
yeah, I was
a 4-year starter.
They were going to go with the veteran in Zarnecki, who of course remember when Plummer was hurt as a junior, Zarnecki was the guy who took in the reins. And, of course, Zarnecki's gotten so many snaps on the defensive side of the ball and offense, but you kind of wondered that might be the way the Lancers go.
And, again, you got Jonathan Neese, one of the better linebackers in our area. Braden Foster. There's another kid.
Oh, yeah.
They're moving him to middle linebacker this year, and so far he's picking up where he left off in his stellar sophomore year. And Xavier LaFay, he might be the kid that is probably maybe overlooked the most. And he's bigger this year. He's running harder. Teams be wary of Xavier. He looks really good right now. And then you look at some other kids that are going to get a chance. Eli Platts is coming back. Junior Cole Stafford, who got some playing time last year. So there's some key parts that are back, not quite as many as it was last year for this LaVille team, but they've got athletes. And Jeff works with his kids so well, he feels they're already ahead of possibly as early as they were last year.
Well, and what he has that's such an advantage to himself and his coaching staff is it seems like every year, they'll have maybe a key departure or two. But they've got that program. Will Hallstrauser built such a power that they just reload. There's never rebuilding. They seldom miss a step. You were rattling off some of those names.
I forgot Cody Allen, by the way.
Oh yeah, the 1,500-yard
yeah,
rusher.
That's all.
Who every time he touches the ball can take it the distance. When you were rattling some of those names off, Tony, the Foster kid really stood out for us. I can remember in our broadcast, he was such a disruptive force, and only a sophomore last year.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing, how different his body is, because I would imagine he's lived in the weight room. And remember, he gave problems to defense or offensive lines. He was just a wrecking ball, if you will. And it's going to be a great thing to see him at middle linebacker where he can make even more plays.
And this year we're going to be adding video to our broadcast, our live stream, and so we're very excited that we're going to be doing that on Max 98.3, and so you'll get a chance for a simulcast. If you're at home, you can watch it, and if you're at the game or on the road, you can listen in. And we got several avenues we're doing this with, including our Max 98.3.com website. Go to Listen Live and click on it, and you got us. So we haven't talked about Plymouth yet, and this is a team that's still finding themselves early, but boy, they got a couple of big pieces that are going to make a difference. Now, they did lose one of their starting wide receivers in Van Heusen, but there's still some talent there and a good quarterback.
Oh, yeah, and it's year 3 of course, Adam Hanley's era, if you will, and they were 2-8 last year, lost to South Bend, Washington in the first round to sectional, but there's some buzz. We thought this time last year it was going to be a Plymouth team that was going to win some games in that long losing streak, which is what they did. Now they need to yet take another step, and you talk about some of the the Plymouth standouts, I think it's right starts and stops with senior quarterback Ramirez. I mean, now does he play quarterback? Or do they make a change there and put him, as a running back? I don't know how they're going to use him. I would think, when you look at that guy, what he had like over 700 yards rushing, threw for 1,100 yards passing. So he showed, that he's more than capable of handling the quarterback duties. And then, of course, the Brady Coffin kid, the linebacker for Plymouth. There's been a lot of young guys at Plymouth that have gotten a lot of snaps and were thrown into the fire. And now I think you look at this season as, okay, you really want to see signs of progress.
Yeah, it is. It's about progress.
Yep.
For this team. Unfortunately, I think the other part of this is that there's some key positions that are having new faces, and how quick they can adapt to what Hanley's doing and how they play defense, I think is going to be just as crucial. Right. This Plymouth team really had a lot of good positive spurts last year defensively, but then they got beat on a big play. Stopping the big play this year is going to be absolutely crucial for this Rockies football team. They just simply have got to make plays this year.
Yeah, they have to make the plays and reduce the amount of big plays, like you said. And the other thing, we've seen them, both lines of scrimmage, they've got to make market improvement there. I mean, they've been dominated up front defensively. Their offensive line has had problems. And so, again, do they make the strides up front? So, if Ramirez is under center, is he running for his life? Too much ad-libbing having to go on at times for the Rockies, and I'm sure more than their coaching staff would like. So we talk about it in every broadcast, how important offensive line play is. No different, with Plymouth. And if they're going to make that next step in their program trying to come back, I think it's got to start with the trenches.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Max. Doug Griffiths, Tony Ross. We are here. We're back after what's been a busy summer, especially on Fridays. But, talking sports here. And right now, kind of just delving into the high school. I don't want to delve too much into this.
Right.
Simply because we've got an area football preview show that we're going to be having on Max 98.3 and our Facebook page and on the air on the radio, and also audio in the internet world. So you can tune in 7 o'clock Wednesday night at the Reese Theater. We're bringing our area coaches in with a couple of kids, and we're going to talk some football and the expectations of the 2024 season. And I'm anxious to bring all the coaches in. There's a lot of optimism, which is always great, and that's how you want to start off. But there's also some reality to some of these teams, and we'll be talking about that as well. So you can come join us, by the way. It's going to be open to the public. We're going to be selling pizza. The concession stand's going to be open. So that, again, next Wednesday, the 21st, 7 p.m., and that you can catch that right here on Max 98.3.
Free admission, too.
Yep, absolutely free admission, no
and the
charge.
Concessions, obviously.
You have to pay for the concessions, but
there's no charge at the door to get in.
No. So, yeah, that's how we're going to kick off our season and talking about teams. And then, of course, our first coaches show, coaches Saturday morning coaches show, there we go, will be Saturday morning starting early at 7 a.m. All right, let's take a break. Come back. We got a lot to talk about more, and we'll do so right after this on Sports Talk on the Max. Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Max. Doug Griffith, Tony Ross. Great to be with you. One of our sponsors for the show is our good friends over at Smith Farm Store in Plymouth. As Javi and the good folks, man, they just rock. And they got some really good deals over at Smith Farm Store. Check them out today. Scrimmages tonight. Who we got?
Yeah, we've got Culver Community will be at Glen. And most of these games, all of them are 7 o'clock starts with one exception. And the one exception is Plymouth at Eastbrook starts at 7:30. But Culver Community at Glen at 7, as I said. Jimtown at Triton. Bremen at Goshen. LaVille at Prairie Heights. And Culver Academy at South Bend, Washington. That game will be at Everwise School Field up there in South Bend. So that's where our local teams will be as they,
haven't even
dress
touched up on the
rehearsal, if you
academy
will.
yet. Academy's going to look good this year too, but a lot of young kids.
Right.
Almost the same scenario. As Plymouth, the kids got to make plays this year. He's got some good stellar players coming back at key positions, but you know how the Eagles offense runs.
Yep.
And every year, that nasty word turnover is always an issue. Yet they still manage to win games.
Right.
And this year's no different. They've got to take care of the football. And a lot of it is concentration. Because the offense that the Eagles run under Andy Dorrell, you got to be concentrated. I mean, you have to be focused, laser focused.
Yeah, I'm interested, Tony. They made a little noise in the postseason last year when they advanced to the sectional championship game where they lost to New Prairie, but they ended up 5-7 after a somewhat slow start. So I want to see if that run there late in the last year is a springboard to better things to come for Andy Dorrell. Can you believe year 27 for the coach?
And he looks 27.
I know, right?
He makes me sick.
It's like biologically impossible when you look at the guy, right?
But I'm going to tell you what, if there's no team in this area that does warm-ups like Culver Academy Eagles.
Yeah. Yep.
Their warm-ups are...
They're a thing to watch.
Practices especially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do intensive work before practice, and you got to, you're forced to be focused, But this is an Eagles team, got a great coaching staff, and I think he's got kids that want to play football this year, the new kids, but they got to take care of the football this year to keep themselves in ball games. They do that, I think they're going to be okay.
And, of course, they always, Coach Dorrell, I'm sure, will tell us Wednesday night in our preview show, they always get off to a late start just in terms of the calendar and getting kids on campus. So there's a little catch-up to do, but it seems like more times than not, his team will hit the groove in the middle of the year. And as we saw last year, they really found their groove in the postseason and just happened to run up against a heck of a New Prairie team.
Yeah. Speaking of New Prairie, they did nothing but reload.
Yeah.
That's all that team did.
And they're another one in the state to watch.
Yeah, without question.
Yep.
They very easily can make it to state again.
Yeah.
That's no joke.
They're very talented.
So they eat, breathe, and sleep football over there in the New Prairie area, the Rolling Prairie area. So that's good. They're going to be a fun team to take a look at this as well. All right, man, what do you want to focus our attention to next?
Well, I mean, we got to talk the NFL, right? Preseason is, remember there's only 3 preseason games for almost every NFL team. I say almost every NFL team. The exception is the 2 teams that played in the Hall of Fame game, and the Chicago Bears were one of those. So if you're in that game, you play 4. But unlike many years past where your preseason was consisted of 4 games, it's now only 3 games, and this weekend will actually kicked off last night, I guess week 2 of preseason, so we'll be 2/3 of the way through, and the Bears will make their home opener preseason against the Bengals on Saturday, I think Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's going to be a good test.
And what's real interesting is, and you're seeing a lot more in the NFL, these teams that are going to play each other in a preseason game, the team will get there a few days early, and they hold scrimmages against each other. That was the case yesterday. The Bengals won against the Bears, and oh, by the way, Joe Burrow, their great quarterback, was picked off 3 times by the Bears defense. And I was listening to Bengals beat reporter. He raved about Caleb Williams. He said, now this was yesterday's scrimmage. He said, no doubt the Bears won the day, and he said he couldn't say enough about Caleb Williams. And again, as you know, I drink the Bear Kool-Aid as much as anybody, and so try to temper it down. But you and I were talking the other day, Tony. It's hard to find a whole lot of criticism of what people, not all Bear fans, but I'm talking people that cover the NFL, scouts, etc., that say many, if any, bad things about Caleb Williams to date.
To date, listen, he's going to have his.
Oh yeah,
he's going to have his
growing pains.
Yeah, but I made it perfectly clear I wasn't going to drink the Kool-Aid. I started sipping last week.
I think Tony's into that grape.
And now I want a cup of Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
By the way, it's his National Kool-Aid Day today.
Hey, perfect.
Oh yeah. But watching Hard Knocks, and if you've not watched it yet, watch it.
Watch it. Somehow watch it.
We are good.
Yep.
And I'm just judging that by how hard the offensive line is busting their hump to keep Caleb as off the radar as possible. It is tough right now to get through that offensive line of the Bears. Can it? Yeah. Still got some new faces, but they also picked up some really good, talented old linemen. And then you look at the receivers. The Bears have got to have the best receiving core all around.
Oh, it's right up there. I
know that, but yet they're number 3 in the receiver ranking.
Right.
So it's like,
I want to see the other people.
Yeah, I want to see the other 2 teams. But I just love the atmosphere that we're getting out of the Bears camp.
Well, and remember the Bears in the offseason, one of the huge acquisitions, maybe the biggest in all of the NFL, was the Bears getting Keenan Allen from the Chargers. And, of course, he is one of the best receivers in all of football. And then, of course, last year was the first year in the trade they got DJ Moore, and he showed what he can do. We already knew coming over from Carolina how good he was. Then you add, their number 9 pick overall from Washington, Odunze, and you watch some of the clips of him in practice, and you talk about a 3-headed monster. And if that wasn't enough, remember you've got veteran tight end Cole Kmet back.
He's looking good.
Notre Dame, and I always wondered if the Bears ever surrounded him with talented receivers, so teams may not pay attention to him as much, how much he would flourish. Well, I think you're going to get to see that this year.
I don't know.
I think he'll really make the jump.
I don't know how defenses are going to be able to handle our receivers.
I mean, it's a 4-headed monster receiving.
Yeah, I mean,
crew.
Cole Kmet probably could have a career year this year.
Yep.
He really could. But I can also see Moore, Thompson. Just a couple. I can see them having career years.
Yeah, because it's not just those 3 aren't the only ones making, or those 4 aren't the only ones making some noise.
No.
You watch the Hard Knocks like you mentioned.
Oh,
by the way, don't forget DeAndre Swift, who we got, the running back.
He looked good running.
And the Johnson guy, the other running back. Yeah. So,
this is one year where I can honestly say, we're about 2 deep in every position.
Yep. They were analyzing, I forget if it was ESPN or some group that covers the NFL Insiders, and they ranked rosters of the NFL. The Chicago Bears were in the top 5 best rosters in the NFL.
I can see that.
And remember, because they weren't that great last year, or weren't very good, under 500, their schedule's not quite as challenging. So, again, but the one thing, and all of our listeners know that, in that league, the fine line of winning and losing is you're an injury away. And I don't just mean Caleb Williams.
Right.
I mean,
but even the backups for Caleb,
you got to worry because last year we've seen it so many years in a row, and I know it's your different receivers, different quarterback, but in fairness, Fields was running for his life. Now I know that the personnel they have up front now is totally different than they've had in years past, but again, you can't suffer a couple key injuries because then everything goes up in smoke.
Do you keep Rippon?
I think.
I agree.
I mean,
Rippon looks good.
yeah.
He looks, if in case Caleb was to go down, he fits right in.
Right.
You don't have, you don't necessarily have to worry about the jitters of having to come in immediately. The guy's got 6 years of NFL experience. Hey, I think he probably is in his best shape than he's ever been in his years in the big league. I really think Rippon should be a choice. Now, I did notice that did Badgett get any throws in last week?
Yeah,
I didn't see any.
No, I know the Reed
kid
they
did.
kept showing his parents, but I don't know if I
No,
missed
the Reed kid did.
Yeah.
I like him. I think that's a tough. Badgett, who by the way is a very good quarterback,
Yeah.
he may be.
Well, let's hope to goodness
You
we
know.
won't have to see.
But I'm just saying,
Right. Anybody but
but
Caleb
it's good
Williams.
to
But
be.
again, that's been
It's good to be in this kind
the
of
predicament
scenario.
the Bears have been
Right.
in recent years. Their backups have played because of injury. And
Tucker, is it Tucker, right? I think it is the end. I want to say his last name's Tucker. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably am. But good Lord, he was a monster.
yeah.
And I am excited. I can't wait to get this final preseason in and get the season started just to see.
Well, there were
where we're at.
Going back to the Buffalo game, the Bears played at Buffalo last Saturday, preseason game, their second, since the Canton Hall of Fame game, and there were a few plays that stood out that Caleb Williams made. One of which, the pocket was collapsing, looked like he was going to be sacked or maybe a no gain or little gain, and he made a shovel pass.
Yeah.
That was so impromptu, and it was to a back who sprung out somehow, and I know that it caught the Bills off
It's like a
guard.
crossing
Yeah,
route.
and he, 20-plus yards, set up one of their field goals. That play, and I heard a former NFL coach talk about that. He just talked about how instinctive that is, and to have that kind of feel for a rookie quarterback is pretty unheard of. And then there was a rollout play where Williams was rolling to his right. He had an underneath receiver on a slant, but somehow rolling to his right, he is right-handed, throws it, on the move, a dart to Cole Kmet about 25 yards downfield.
Key is the receivers were properly spaced.
Right.
In other words, we got receivers who know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And that gives Williams all he needs. And and when you watch the Hard Knocks thing, I know exactly what you're talking about. He was talking to his receiver,
Right.
saying, "I just need you to be at this spot. You do your thing, but I need you to be at this spot."
Yeah.
And so the communication is wide open, and no egos are being involved here.
We had heard he had put so many hours in the offseason learning the playbook.
Exactly. Learning his receivers.
Yeah, you watch that Hard Knocks show, and you can
can see it.
And Eberflus, head coach Matt Eberflus, has really talked about, sure, there's a learning curve for every rookie player, but it seems to be a little less for Caleb Williams because of the time he's put in since he got drafted. In whether it's one-on-one workouts with some of those receivers Tony talked about, or just sitting down learning the playbook and watching film. And again, all the reports, and especially in that league, you got to know that playbook inside and out. You got to watch tape religiously, and it's so much off the field that we as fans don't see. But again, by every indication, Caleb Williams is delivering big time off the field in preparation for what it takes to hopefully have a terrific rookie season. And the Bears have definitely set him up, because I can't remember another rookie quarterback coming into a situation that has this many weapons at wideout and even behind him at running back. I mean, and I, as a lifelong Bear fan, I can't remember this much excitement for a Bears offense. Now, of course, we had the 85 Bears defense, and really every year it's been defense, monsters, the Midway. But can you ever remember this much excitement of an offense?
And I will tell you, when you watch, last night I went on YouTube and I watched some 85 clips, and I kind of compared to what I was seeing with Hard Knocks. You can tell when a team is not just locked in, but they're determined to stay locked in. You know, nothing. You know, you're your brother. There's that camaraderie already, and a lot of it has to do with who we got. You know, don't get me wrong, but just watching McMahon, for example, doing a scramble off to his right, there was a purpose. You know, and then he found Walter on a cut through the middle, and Walter did Walter things. You know, and you kind of see that a little bit with this year's team. And yeah, the players are different, obviously, but it's that that purpose. That sometimes you see the players run. There is a purpose on the runs. There is a purpose in catching a football, you know, and when you got the talent like McMahon had and Williams does, you don't have to worry with too many mistakes, you know, missed balls, because that mentality is, all right, well, I'm getting the next one. I'm going to throw the next one that's going to be a first down throw. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how I sound very elementary-ish with this, but there's just, it seems like a purpose right now. And this is just preseason.
Yeah.
I hope I see this the whole regular season.
You're almost to the point where the regular season can't get here soon
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
September 8th seems like eons away still, even though it's around the corner. The other thing, we haven't talked really at all about the defense, but what I love is it's not like our receivers are going up against a bunch of nobodies. I mean, the battles between Keelan Allen and Jalen Johnson, who is one of the best lockdown corners the league has, are phenomenal, and they do a great job in Hard Knocks of showing some of those battles. And Jalen Johnson, by the way, was kept off. They ranked the top 100 NFL players, all positions. He was kept off that list. And going to feeding off of what Tony just said, you can tell he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yes, he does.
And he wants to prove a lot of people wrong this
Well, he
year.
said that in the press conference.
Yeah, and he's filthy talented. And like I said, he is the Bears' lockdown corner. You know, the Bears had one of the top 5 run defenses last year. I don't think that'll change. If you want to be greedy, we were hoping as Bears fans that they'd get yet another really talented, disruptive end, which remains to be seen. They haven't, acquired one. Now, whether they will have drafted or developed one remains to be seen, but to complement Sweat, who, of course, they got from Washington. So,
and
again,
I think he's
I'm
running.
I'm nitpicking, but if they had 2 edge rushers, I think they're really even more dangerous.
See, one thing I noticed was Sweat running this year compared to last year. He's more down. He's more compact. Yeah. You know, it's a purpose. It's like a running back purpose. You can go back and look at all his film last year. He was more straight up running, and he was always been aggressive, but he's different this year.
And again, maybe there is somebody and they have him, in camp on that roster that could take some of the heat off, because his play is gonna have to be way up, elevated per usual.
But you know what though? I don't see him getting as many catches or many opportunities as when he was in Philadelphia. I mean, you got 4 receivers you got to make happy.
Yeah.
Who can do the job? Who can leap 6 feet in the air and haul it down with one arm? All of them. Yeah. That's how talented the Bears are offensively right now. And they haven't even played a regular season game yet. So I think Swift is going to have to exercise some patience. Yeah, you got to run the football in order to stay successful with your passing game. Yes. But, what down and distance you got to work with on that determines how well Sweat is going to be successful.
And yeah, I mean, Swift, the running back, he may have a lot of daylight just because teams are so worried about that receiving core. And again, so many interesting things to watch in tomorrow's preseason game. But as we get closer to the season and when they actually kick off the season against the Titans in Soldier Field on Sunday, September the 8th. But yeah, it'll be, again, there's a buzz in the Windy City and Northern Indiana, really throughout the country, around Chicago Bear football that has been absent for many decades.
Well, again, we got great receivers, got a very good running back in Swift, and I think, again, it's all between the ears. And right now they're confident because they can back what they do. And you get that in preseason, man. Holy crap.
And not to be Debbie Downer, but and again, don't get me wrong, Caleb Williams had a magnificent college career, won the Heisman not last year, but the year prior. But there is, in my brain anyway, that Notre Dame game sticks out where Notre Dame really gave him fits. Now, in fairness, USC's line was a train wreck, offensive line. Although SC always has talented receivers, they weren't as good as the year prior, and certainly nothing compared to what the Bears are going to field. So I think some of the critics still have that in the back of their mind. And again, he's a rookie quarterback in the NFL. And if you have to be reminded, just go back and look how many interceptions Peyton Manning threw in his rookie season.
Yep.
But again, Peyton Manning didn't have this kind of receiving core. So we'll see. I think there's going to be more good days than down, or I don't even know if he'll have many bad days. But I think it looks really good.
Well, I'm drinking Kool-Aid right now.
And we haven't been drinking that Kool-Aid for a long time.
I love what I'm seeing in this preseason.
Probably since you and I were in college. That's how long, right?
All right, 12:40 in the afternoon. It's Sports Talk on the Max. That returns after this. All right, it's 12:42 in the afternoon on this Friday, August 16th. And this is Sports Talk on the Max. Tony Ross, Doug Griffiths. Doug, let's talk a little college football.
Yeah, and before we get to college football, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, Tony, because we, in the commercial break, ask one another what we're going to talk about. But before we get into college, the college pigskin, how about some good news? And this is great news. Ryan Sandberg yesterday announced that he was cancer-free.
Yes,
and
praise the Lord.
You know, we're always loving good news these days because it's a crazy world we live in. But that was one that really lifts you up. And, you know, there's a lot of people ringing that bell, cancer-free across America and the world.
That's great.
And that's what puts smiles on our faces because we know the battle those people go through. But that was just nice to hear.
Yep, very much so.
But college football, they released the top 25 poll came out, Associated Press top 25 poll. No surprise. I mean, Georgia's number 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Alabama 5. Notre Dame comes in at number 7. There's 6 Big Ten teams now. Now, remember, Oregon is in that mix, and of course USC. But USC is in the lower part of that top 25, number 23. But another thing that jumped out at me, of course, you and I are Purdue football season ticket holders. Oh, by the way, the Boilermakers get to play 4 of the top 8 teams in America, and 3 of those are at home: Penn State, Notre Dame, and Oregon. And of course, the fourth one is Ohio State on the road. So, hello, Ryan Walters in year 2.
No kidding.
Merry Christmas. But again, a lot of things to be excited about college football. We usher in the 12-team playoff this year, going away from the 4-team. And what I'm really looking forward to, among other things, is that first round of that college football playoff will be played at home venues. So that could be very interesting.
That could be a difference maker right there.
A playoff game in South Bend in December. So a lot of things to watch. It's going to be fun. And, oh, by the way, Notre Dame can be no better than a 5 seed in that 12-team playoff because they're not in the Power 4, if you will. Of course, we used to have a Power 5. The Pac-12 is no more. We have a Power 4. So that's those 4 conferences will produce 1 through 4. Notre Dame can be no better than a 5. So that's where that comes from. But, and so, of course, Ohio State's the favorite to win the Big Ten. One of the early preseason games in September that'll take place, Texas travels to Ann Arbor to Michigan. Now, Texas has had a couple huge injuries at the running back position. So that ranking now probably looks way too high for the Longhorns. Now, again, Texas's roster is absolutely loaded, so they will reload. But whether they're top 5 good remains to be seen. And I'm telling you what, Notre Dame, of course, they'll have a new quarterback this year, the transfer from Duke. But, their defense looks scary good. And the big question mark for the Irish coming into this season was offensive line because they lost some real big-time playmakers, and they had a big blow at left tackle. They lost their left tackle to a season-ending knee injury. So I think there's no doubt that offensive line is going to be the biggest question for Notre Dame. And they kick off the season not next weekend, but the 31st at Texas A&M, which that's going to be, I think, the biggest opening weekend game of them all. A&M, by the way, lost their star running back to a season-ending injury, knee injury, I believe. So that'll be, no doubt, a great matchup. Technically, the college football season begins a week from tomorrow, but they call that week 0 because it's a limited amount of games, not the full schedule slate of games you'll see on August 31st. But, boy, it's gotten here. So you wait for it for so long. You get to after the 4th of July, and you're like, I can hardly wait till football. And boom, it just like sneaks up on you, and here it is. We're a week away from high school football kicking off, and just a couple weeks away from a full slate of college football games. And right after that, we'll usher in the start of the NFL season. So
yes,
it's like a triple scoop on your ice cream cone, Tony. And sports freaks, football freaks like ourselves you can tell I'm just salivating. I can hardly wait, right?
Well, it is. It's finally here. I remember Mark on the morning show does what you were sitting there thinking back in April. God, I wish the football season was started. So here it is.
Because really the only bridge is baseball.
Yeah.
This year we had the Olympics, which that, was good for us Cub fans, a good respite, if you will, from some of the down hopes on the north side. And it was great to see the United States do so well in Paris. But now I think when the calendar turns August, we all start thinking football.
Fall sports.
Yep.
Let's take a break. 12:47. That's your time. You're listening to Sports Talk on the Max. On Max 98.3. 12:48 in the afternoon. Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Max. We got Coach Kaiser of LaVille. Yeah, Coach's show begins at 9 a.m. We'll probably be calling him around 8 o'clock or so. Or 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
8 a.m. is when I'll be calling you, probably, Kai. So there you go. Yes, we got that coming up, and very excited about the high school football season. We still got baseball going on.
Stretch drive, or
Yeah.
once you get to about Labor Day, right?
Yep.
Then it's the drive for the playoffs, push for the playoffs.
I think that's what they call it. I don't know. My Cubs ain't doing so well.
I thought you were
I
going to
just-
maybe play the Death March coming out of that commercial.
Jeez. I thought about it.
This got swept in Cleveland, and I knew going into that was going to be a tough series.
Same crap.
But again,
Same
how many
crap.
blown games?
Well, and I tell you, Leiter, who got traded to the Yankees, he's sucking.
Is he? I knew they had lost the opener against the White Sox.
Yeah, well, the Yankees lost a 7-run lead to the whoever they played after the White Sox. They had a 7-run lead, put Leiter in, he gave up 4.
Yeah.
He's just struggling.
Yeah.
That poor guy's just struggling. And if he gets out of his inning, he's had to throw at least an average of 30 pitches to get out of his issues. I don't. It's tough for me to sit here and I love baseball to begin with, and it's one of my favorite sports. This year's been a tough year to watch, both Sox and Cubs. And I talked about this before, and matter of fact, I think we talked about it today. I don't know what the Cubs are doing with the broadcasting. I don't.
The music.
I know the announcers like, I think, Shambi? Out of 182 season, he does 142, something like that now.
And part of that's because his ESPN radio deal on the weekend.
But the replacements have not been good for me.
Well, we like the few times we've heard Pat Hughes come over from the radio.
Absolutely. I miss the days.
Yeah, you had a great
I miss the days when the Cubs would split innings, the announcers. Harry would start first through third, then he'd go over to the radio side for the radio listeners.
Yep. Because they wanted to hear Harry.
They wanted to hear Harry.
Yeah.
And then he'd come back from 7 to 9.
Because
Brickhouse,
Milo Hamilton.
Milo Hamilton and Dwayne Stats and Tom Brenneman. That's when it was great because you got to hear different opinions, discussions, I mean, Harry was loved because he called the game like a fan. I love that.
Yep.
That's the way it should be. But, when you have different voices representing a same team, you get to look at a different aspect. That's what I loved when Jack Brickhouse would start, do 3 innings or 4 innings, and then the good kid, Lou Boudreau, come in.
Yeah.
And if there was a guy that was more honest, it was him.
Yep.
I learned the game listening to him. And then Jack would come back for the final 2 or 3, whatever the rotation was. It was, I don't know why more teams just simply don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know why, because we become a cookie cutter society. I got XM, so I'm in my car, I'm listening to
Tony
the radio
gets
visual.
a fill of, he gets them all.
There's some really good announcers. There's some really crappy announcers out there. But
you get TV too, because
I get all the teams.
Your satellite package, yeah.
I just wish there were the switch ups like there was back in the old days, because you got a variety. You got a variety of opinions and discussions and how approaches, and it's not like that anymore.
I'd be interested to know.
You're stuck with one.
If the Cubs marquee / their radio network if they ever even consider that anymore in the off season. And, if fans would write in, if they would listen at all to the fans,
Because I think that's a great point.
And I actually think Shambi also calls a better game on the radio, than he does
yeah.
television.
Yep. Because Coomer, remember, he's the analyst in radio too. I wouldn't mind.
Bring Coondog over.
On Coomer
Bring
on TV.
Yeah, get a
4,
taste
5,
of what it's
6.
like on the radio.
Right.
I don't know why it's so difficult. My guess it's because of contracts.
Probably now.
And you can't tell me Pat Hughes and Ron Coomer, if they stay together, wouldn't want to dabble in television.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to do it.
Yeah.
Do it for 3 innings and then go back. Heck, you may have people turn off the TV and follow them, or
My
turn down the
thinking
volume
is
and follow
always,
them.
and I think I asked you this question one Monday when I came in. What's the deal, Tony, with them playing musical chairs in the broadcast booth?
Well, again, it goes.
About,
it's a contract.
Are they thinking
it's
of? When I
contracts.
understand that, now the days of doing 162 are gone, but are they thinking about replacing Boog, or does he not want to come back? Or
This has been going on.
yeah,
This has been going on.
and we should tell our White Sox listeners too. Steve Stone is
He's thinking about
contemplating
being done.
retirement, and
After watching this season, how can you not?
Right. I heard an interview with him, and he's now at the age, he's in his 70s, where, he has to have the passion. He's another one that does like 140-ish
Yeah,
games, which, again, that's a lot.
it is. It is.
From including preseason, I think his contract is. But, of course, the White Sox will have to want him back. I don't know why you wouldn't. And whether he still has that drive to be back.
Everybody's beating up on that Sheffin play-by-play guy on television for the White Sox. That kid's got potential, but his delivery it's not a traditional sounding broadcast. And now there's going to be out there saying, well, you're supposed to have your own character. Yeah, but there are things you need to be talking about in the ball game that everybody can relate with. He tries to set up Steve. Steve does his best to keep it. I don't necessarily like his sound. He sounds too immature.
Well, and he had big shoes to fill, of course.
Well, yeah, of course.
Jason Benetti.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But that was an interesting decision why they went to him.
Benetti had the wit about him and knowledge.
Yeah.
He knew how to set up Steve. Sheffin, usually there's like 2 or 3 phrases that he goes to set up Steve. And I don't know. That's just stuff I pick up, and I don't.
Yeah, my wish list would be the Cubs get Benetti and Steve Stone in the booth, but I know that ship's sailed.
Yeah. You can't
happen.
You can't get rid of you can't. I like JD as a color guy. He's good. He's turned out good.
Good.
I didn't like him in the beginning.
He's improved. I agree with that.
I think he's a really good listen, but I don't know. I sit here and it's just tough. And the other part about it is I never have adapted to Shambi because he's an ESPN style kind of guy. Plus he's sarcastic and comes across as he knows it all.
Yep.
That's a bother. I don't want to sit there and talk to it. I would struggle when I was in school talking to a person who thought they know it all.
Yeah,
I knew it all.
He comes across as a big deal.
Yeah, you're not bigger than the game, and you're definitely not bigger than the club. So represent the club. Come down with us normal people.
Yeah.
That love the game. So like I said, that's been my dilemma this year. Honest to God, I don't watch much of the Cubs games because of Shambi.
Yeah, I enjoy in my car listening to Pat Hughes
Absolutely.
more than I do watching on TV.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The
or
problem
when
is
there's a national broadcast and the Cubs are it. I like that.
I don't like national broadcasts. I hate them. I hate national broadcasts, because they used to take national broadcasts back in the day before Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola started those big national broadcasts, the Saturday games. It used to be the home team.
Took their
78,
feet. Yeah.
78. I'm thinking back 78, listening to the Yankees
Phil Rizzuto.
do an ABC
Oh yeah.
game. They would use and then they would use different announcers when they meet in a different ballpark. I remember that.
But I'm talking more from technology and all the.
You could split them off.
know-
Apple TV did it.
No, I mean like the some of the from a visual standpoint, the camera angles that like an ESPN on Sunday Night Baseball, they just do some different things that I think are better quality than the local broadcast. No, don't get me wrong. The local broadcasts have come a long way now because we have high definition, et cetera. But for a while, remember when Joe Morgan was part of that? I mean, just some of the extra cameras, I guess, is that they had is appealing to me. I don't necessarily by any means mean the announcer.
Well, it kind of puts you in the seats.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like ESPN. I don't like the announcers at all.
Right.
Not at all. But I enjoy the technical work that they do.
Yeah.
They put a lot into it, and that's appreciative.
And it's just like you said, Apple TV, their broadcasts, I like their graphics.
Well,
It's
Apple
like a
TV,
different-
what they do, and I don't know if they're even doing it now, and I don't know why, but they would have Apple TV's announcer, and then you would have a choice of the home team announcers
that's
or the
right.
visitors announcers.
Yes, you're correct.
I love that.
love that. Yeah.
Don't have it now. So
You know, they do that on, well, for instance, your satellite radio, but also like we have the hockey package, and you can get the hometown call.
Right.
There's two options for each game.
Each team, yeah.
home or away
yeah.
call. Yeah.
I only bought XM radio for baseball. I don't care less about anything else.
Oh, you'll love it for football.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
You will definitely love it.
But I plan on being in front of the TV.
Right, but I mean, when you're in transit, coming
If you're in
back from
transit,
Purdue
yeah.
games and stuff like that,
Yeah, that's when it's the best.
It's really beneficial. You and
Yeah.
I have been on some of those road trips where we tune
Yeah.
in like college football wrap up and stuff, and they go around the nation. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So we're back in the saddle and we're hopping off the saddle because it's time to go. Enjoy your Friday, and if you're traveling to the respective scrimmages, be careful. And we will talk to you next Friday for Sports Talk on the Max here on Max 98.3.